Guys, it's happening. Crayola is starting to compete with the brush marker industry. I saw these markers advertised on Facebook and I was really interested because it says they have a brush tip and then the ultra fine tip. So they're trying to make art markers now, I guess. It has 32 vibrant colors, but only 16 markers because they're double-sided and they're both different colors, which is weird. It's Crayola's signature. So on the back here, we have all the colors listed out. What they're really trying to do with these markers is like market to people who are interested in calligraphy, because that's like their whole campaign is Crayoligraphy, and I'm like, that sounds awkward. I'm thinking they're probably going to be water-based just because it's Crayola and they don't want things to be like toxic. And yeah, so let's try opening this up. So here's the tin and the inside. We have the 16 markers. Oh, is this like... Okay. Here we go. So here is one of the markers and it has two sides, has a brush tip, and it has a chisel tip. I'm gonna make some color swatches. I'll be right back. And color swatches in 3, 2, 1. So these markers, the fine tip sides are the translucent caps and the brush tips are the solid caps. And I gotta say that the caps of the markers match the colors that they put down on the paper pretty well. All of the fine tip ones just seem more like watered down versions of the brush tips. Like the ink isn't quite as opaque or vibrant, but yeah, there's a pretty nice selection of colors here, like kiwi and seafoam green. A lot of these ones I would like to have them as a brush pen, and it's kind of frustrating that they only come as a bullet tip. And also the bullet tip ones I feel like should be the darker colors, so you can do smaller like shadows and details and stuff, but they're actually the lighter colors. This doesn't make much sense to me, because how are you going to add details on top of like a dark area if you're using something that's lighter? That just doesn't make any sense. So because these markers come with brush tips, I dug out the 2 Copic markers that I own. They're Copic sketch markers, so they have the brush tip also, and I'm going to compare how soft their brush tips are and what kind of marks they can make. Because I don't have many Copic markers to choose from, I chose 2 colors that are kind of similar, but they're not that similar, so don't judge these based on color comparison. But anyway, so we're going to be comparing Robin's Egg Blue, and then this one is Ice Ocean. Oh, it does that thing, by the way, which is sweet. So this brush tip is not very soft. It's pretty much just like a felt tip at a point. I'm going to try to write "drawing is fun." I'm gonna write that twice and see how they compare. I'm not like a calligraphy person, by the way, so don't judge me based on this. Yeah, this brush tip is much softer. Alright, so the Copic marker tip is much softer. It's much easier to get line variation. With this Crayola tip, you kind of have to get it more on its side so you can get that like side action going, you know, and then you can kind of lift up like that to get line variation. But this one you can basically just do that without even like putting it on its side, you know. Obviously Copics are better, I mean, that's no question. They're alcohol based. These Crayola ones are water based, so they're not going to be as smooth and they're not going to layer as nicely. Yeah, the brush tip is just not that good on these. Just not that good. They're very stiff. Do you remember this apple that I did in the OHUHU marker review? Well, I'm going to try redrawing it with the Crayola markers, so it's kind of like Crayola versus OHUHU versus Crayola. So yeah, I don't have the actual apple with me, so I'm gonna kind of be winging it, but let's see how it turns out. I'm actually pretty surprised. I'm having a pretty fun time with these. It seems like it's putting the color down a lot smoother than the normal Crayola markers. It feels like it's eating through the paper already. Yeah, that's Crayola. The limited color choices that I have is kind of frustrating. The main thing is I don't have a gray. Like, I don't have a gray brush tip, so doing the shadow is going to be not very fun. So far I am liking these more than I've wanted to. Like, having a brush tip is so nice. It's making me sad. Now I'm like second guessing like OHUHU markers. I'm like, dang, maybe I need actual markers with brush tips, huh? It's like, look at how neat that looks. That looks really neat. Time to do this freaking shadow. That was the worst decision they made about these markers, was not including a gray brush tip. Yeah, look at how crappy that looks. That looks so bad. Yeah, okay, yeah, the shadow is just like not working out. I'm mad. I didn't want to like these markers as much as I do. I mean, they're definitely chewing up the paper, which is kind of a bummer. But that looks pretty freaking good. It's very vibrant. My only complaint is that I just don't have enough colors, but we'll see if that changes. And for the final test, I am just doing an illustration. I was inspired by traditional Peruvian clothing, so I drew a little girl with a baby goat and an alpaca. And these markers they definitely lay the color down better than the normal Crayola markers. Because it has a brush tip, it's easier to make a flatter, less streaky area. And I used an art hack that I learned from Robin Klontz. You should check her YouTube channel out. But what you do is you use water to reactivate the Crayola ink and then spread it around like watercolor. And that worked pretty well, but that's not really the point of the markers. The point of the markers is to be able to use the brush tip. And because there's just not a very wide variety of colors, most of them are pretty dark and pretty vibrant, it's difficult to get those lighter values, like in the sky and in the ground and in the alpaca's fur, so I had to use the water. After a while, when you're just putting the color down, it really just feels like normal Crayola ink and it eats through the paper. I don't necessarily recommend these markers. I recommend alcohol-based markers like the OHUHU markers still. But it was fun to try out a different type of marker, and I definitely appreciate brush tip markers a lot more now. Someday in the future, when I have more money, I'll invest in like some actual Copics or something. I just want to thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll have a video out next weekend, and I'll see you then. Bye!